Hey there, welcome to Riff on This, candid conversations behind the music in Florida. And if you know anything about Florida or music, you know this is a big old state and we have a ton of talent. But we're here for all the juicy details and amazing stories flowing behind all of the genres in the Sunshine State. I'm your host, Samara Kokinas, taking a break from the weather to catch a musical vibe with you. The music industry is very competitive and one of the more difficult industries to break into. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Some artists are young when they enter the world of music, while others wait their entire careers for their moments to shine. What we often don't see is the hard work it takes to get there. So with that being said, let's live for today and welcome current lead vocalist and bass player for the legendary pop rock band The Grassroots and independent recording artist Mark Dawson to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank
it
you.
is so amazing to have you here on set. You're such a talented individual.
I love when you say nice things to me. Thank you very much. You know, I love music. My passion has never died. Since I was a kid. When I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that was it. I was cemented into music. I don't call it history, but I wanted to do that, what I just saw on TV. And I've never lost my passion since the early 60s till now.
And you know, sometimes it takes, it can, you know, when you have a passion for something and then you start doing it full time, it can have some wear and tear, but we'll get to that, all those details in a minute. I want to start because you're not originally from Florida, even though you reside here now. So let's start with where you're from for everybody who does not know, and, you know, how you got into music.
All right, well, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and
Great city.
I love that town. Not in the wintertime so much, but
Yeah.
I do love Chicago. We moved to Florida, my wife and I, and our child, our daughter, in '95, the end of '95. She had an opportunity for work, and I remember she said, what would you think about moving down to the Central Florida area? I went, when can we leave?
Right.
And within 6 months, we were here and just love it to death, and never want to leave.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, I grew up here, so I have this love for it. Even when I had to move away, I was like, I can't wait to go home. You know, even though you love other places, it's like, there's home. So how did you get into music, though, originally? Did you start very young, or was
in high school, well, actually probably more like 7th or 8th grade, I had a guitar from a garage sale down the street. And I do remember, actually, probably was 7th grade, there was a musical contest of some kind. And I remember I learned the riff to Day Tripper by the Beatles, and that was it. I'm going to be in that talent show. Let me just say this. In my life, I've been in 3 talent shows. I'm 3-0. That's all I can really say about it.
All right. Well, you know, talent shows, they can be tough crowds to really, I mean.
It was all kids. It was just fun.
I mean, even like, you know, because then they got the parents and the audience. It's a tough crowd. I mean,
it was
trying to impress.
I'll tell you, though, it was so much fun just doing it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just realized that was really fun, and I wanted to do it more. And so I finally found some people who said, yeah, I have drums, and another guy had another guitar, and Mom, can we use the basement? And that's how it all started.
Oh, wow. So this is a whole basement band type situation.
This went on for every day after school for a long time, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys ever throw parties down in the basement?
Well, the parents did. I wouldn't throw a party because you couldn't touch my guitars and things. Don't go near them. Yeah. I've changed these days, but back then, don't even look at that, okay? No, my parents, they had a nice basement, so it was as long as you don't break anything, so we'd place everything very carefully and make up songs, you know, or copy what was on the radio at the time.
So you started out on a classical type guitar?
Just a guitar, plain old, you know, probably a silver tone Sears electric guitar, one of those. It didn't take long, though. Once I was in high school.
Well, once you got the calluses on your fingers, that
doesn't
take long.
Once you pass all that pain, you could do anything after that. Yeah, once I got into high school, I found some people who knew how to play instruments, and actually it was I had joined this band. They asked me to join because I could sing some songs, and they were doing oh, Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, those kind of things. And I like that, of course. So they asked me if I could sing. And I said, you know what, I'll strike a deal with you. I will sing for your band if you'll have your guitar player, who was the best guy in that west side of Chicago where we were at the time, if he'll teach me how to play better, play guitar. And so that was our deal. I got free guitar lessons from the best guitar player as long as I played guitar, sang for them.
Wow.
Sorry. And it worked out well. That band, who we called ourselves Mile High, off a Kurt Vonnegut book, I believe. The day where my career actually changed was the day the bass player came in and he said, hey guys, my parents are making me go away to college. I can't stay, so I have to quit the band. And the trumpet player in the band turned to me without pause and said, hey, Mark, you should play bass. It only has 4 strings.
It's such a selling point. It really is. I mean, I love to play bass guitar. I played when I was younger. I'm not great, but yes, that is a selling point for a lot of people. It's like, hey, there's only 4 strings, and you're like, I think I can do this.
I had never touched a bass prior to that conversation. Not even, I saw it, but never was interested. The bass player handed it to me. He said, I played a few notes and went, this is it. This is what I want. And I've never swayed from that. I love, and that reignited even more passion for playing music because the bass was it.
Well, the bass is the heart line. You
can't dance without a bass and drums.
You can't. So, I mean, without those two, what do you have?
Boring.
I mean, it can be boring. Some people say, well, hey, some people sit and just jam out. And I'm like, right. But when you get a good drum solo, or even a really kicking bass solo.
When you're playing tight, you can't beat that. When that drummer and bass player have a groove, they have agreed on that moment in time, musically speaking. It's really nice. It's a beautiful thing. I love playing with a drummer that I play with now, the Grassroots. Great groove with that guy too.
Awesome. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit here and really kind of get back into when you came to Florida. There were some changes, obviously, besides the scenery and the weather, but I am going to refer to my phone here just because I had written some notes. This is kind of like a moment where I'm like, let me see if I can get him right. You actually were the featured vocalist for the Coors Light radio campaign from 1991 to 1993. Can you say it for me?
Come on into Coors Light. It's the right beer now.
I love it.
That was me. That was something. There's a little story behind that.
Do tell.
So I was my group. I was playing with a cover group. We were called the All Night Newsboys. We had done a series of things out in Colorado, ski resort type things. Played out there for I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, and I was flying home, and I happened to be sitting next to a guy. We just got into a conversation, and one thing led to another. What do you do? I don't know what that's about.
That's okay. It's it's technology. You have your iWatch. That's fine. It happens.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It wasn't even Mickey talking.
Mickey?
No, Mickey was some. Mickey will talk if you want him to,
Really?
but I don't know where that came from.
That's okay.
So anyway, the fellow sitting next to me, we got into a conversation. Turns out he worked for the Coors Brewing Company. Oh. I told him I was a rock musician, and I happen to have at the time, we used to send out postcards with our schedule. So it had 50 or so dates on a postcard. I said, I'm playing these shows coming up. He tells me we've got this new rock thing we're doing where we're supporting groups. I said, great, I'd love to hear more about it. Here's my info. 2 years go by. I never hear a thing from the man. I didn't even think about it.
You're like,
one day I get a phone call. Hi, Mark, this is Pat. We talked on an airplane a couple of years ago. Listen, I need a song for this new campaign. Can you write me one? I don't even remember who you were. It took me. So anyway, we had a conversation for a while, and then I was like, oh, now I remember all these things. I had sent him letters. This is pre-email, of course, and all that. So I had to send actual letters and make phone calls, and just never heard back. So I thought it was a dead deal. And next thing I know, he's telling me I need a commercial, and these are the words, you write the melody, and we're going to go and record it. And I didn't think that was going to happen either. And 2 weeks later, here I am recording the Coors National radio spot, and it was It was wonderful. It was they were great. I got to know the Coors folks. They ended up dumping a whole bunch of sponsorship.
No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
that too. A whole bunch of sponsorship into the band for another 5 or 6 years. It was
awesome.
a great relationship. Plus, it was always cool to say, "Hey, that's me singing that song right now." You
Right.
That's not you. People would say, "You don't think so?"
Okay. Yeah, okay.
It's me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was like, when I read that, I was like, interesting. I can't wait to ask him about this one, you know,
Yeah.
as I'm writing it down. You know, I put writing, but I'm typing it down, you know what I mean? So
We when we would do Coors sponsored shows, it was contractually written that we had to perform that at the end of the set, which was interesting. A 1 minute, you know,
Just
the
an
right
ending.
beer now, and people go, huh?
but the last call was 30 minutes ago.
It's the right beer. So that was always interesting too. But again, super great people, and that was a fun time in my musical career anyway.
That's really cool. So, you know, you're doing all these things. So you've been in several bands. You've recorded your own music, I believe, as well.
Got a few solo albums out there, yeah.
All right. So tell me about recording those albums and kind of what it really took for you to get to that point of doing solo recording. And was that prior to you joining the Grassroots?
It was about the same time as joining the Grassroots. Obviously, we had moved from the Chicago area. When we came here, I met some folks in the Tampa area who were singing in a doo-wop show.
Oh, cool.
Which I didn't know a lot about doo-wop, but I thought the voicings were very cool. And they liked the way I sang, so they hired me for this group. And I quickly said, "Hey, have you guys thought about adding a little Motown in here?" And we had 5 different guys who were diverse singers. This was only vocal. There were no instruments.
Oh, okay.
So we added a little bit of Motown, and it was a fun little show.
Yeah.
A lot of sing along. I ended up recording tracks that we would have bass and drums and maybe some piano that we would sing over. But 5 guys with real strong voices. I did that for about 8 years, and that was something I never dreamed I would have played something like that. We only did shows in Florida, but we worked an awful lot.
Yeah.
And it was part comedy, part Motown, part doo-wop. It was a good time.
Florida really, when people think about, you know, entertainment-wise here, you know, there's always stuff to do, but they often don't really think about how much we do musically here. I mean, there's a lot, and it's not just in Miami.
Right, there's music.
It's right here.
Yeah, there's all kinds
Central
of.
Florida, and then all over Florida. You never know who you're going to run into. Now, you have a very interesting story because you're doing all these things, you know, through your career. You're coming up and you're doing the Coors thing. You're doing all these bands and you're making an album, and then you get, I mean, this opportunity a little later in life.
A little bit.
And you know, a lot of people cannot say that they get the opportunity that you have later in life. Sometimes they're like, I give up on that.
I had just about reached that point where I didn't think my career was going to be, you know, I'm playing music and I certainly loved that. I had no complaint, but I didn't think my career was going to elevate musically anymore because, like you said, that had passed.
Right.
And there's so many young, talented people coming up these days that are just, I listen to some of these people and I go, they have way more talent than me at 20 than I do at my age. I mean, these are some talented people. But, you know, one thing led to another. I got a phone call one day from an agent. Now, I generally am not friendly with agents because they're agents.
Yeah.
An agent who I sort of liked from back in the 80s. I hadn't talked to this fella in probably 12 or more years at least. Out of the blue, he said, "Hey, how are you with your Grassroots catalog?" I said, "I don't know what you mean by that." He goes, "How well do you know the Grassroots music?" And of course, if there's a job involved, I'm going to say, like the back of my hand.
And then you're like, oh man, let me go learn this.
That's exactly what
Wait,
happened.
that wasn't, well, I mean, kind of. You were already a huge fan of the Grassroots.
Absolutely a big fan. And I did know a handful of their songs, how to play them and all the words and all that. But when you think about truly, I mean, you're talking about all of the parts for maybe 6 or 7 songs. Well, as this conversation unfolded, they needed a fill-in just for one show. And it was going to be about an hour and a half. It turns out it was 19 songs is what I played. Well, I didn't know. So here's the kicker. I absolutely agreed to it. Oh, this will be fun. I can get this on my resume. I was a lead singer of one of my favorite bands, at least for one day. And the guy tells me, oh, yeah, well, we'll see you in San Francisco in 3 days. 3 days, yeah, that's when the show is. And I had agreed to it already. So I had to learn all of this in 3 days to fly to San Francisco to do the show. Talk about being nervous and stressed. I didn't pretty much sleep for a few days.
I wouldn't have either.
It was crazy. I mean, I can still remember being on the plane and people, like guy talking to me, said, I can't talk to you. I'm listening to music. I was that, my hair may have been sticking out here at that time. It was something. All I can tell you is I don't remember much else. Got to the hotel, met the band. I had not met them or spoken to them prior to that. We drove out to the show. I played it. And they asked me to come back and do it again. So 15 years later, I'm still waiting for that phone call. Well, Mark, we're kind of got to let you go.
No.
But it never happened. So
That's good.
that was all from just doing one show.
That's wild.
It happened.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Did they send you sheet music or did you?
No, this was all
by ear. Uh-huh. See, that's the kicker. You're learning a very intricate part to all of these songs in a very short amount of time.
And I had to sing all the lead vocals as well. That
I can't. That is an immense pressure. I mean, when you got there and you did the show, about how many people were there at that particular show?
it was some sort of convention. I bet there were 800 or 900, I imagine. To my advantage, it was one of those situations. We do play these conferences occasionally, and people don't always pay attention. The music's going, and they're having a drink or a snack.
Yeah.
So this was one of those shows which probably worked to my advantage.
Okay.
Maybe I missed a word or played some bad notes or whatever, but nobody knew because they were busy.
Yeah.
It could have been, we generally play performing arts centers,
Gotcha.
casino showrooms, things like that, 1,000 seats or so. This was not that. So that first one it helped me.
Gotcha.
It probably helped me.
Now, I know that, people, bands especially, artists, we all have our favorite band musician. I mean, some people love a specific drummer, some people love a specific artist, and when that person is replaced, they rebel. They're like, I'm not going to like this guy because he is not the original. That's kind of what was going on with you with Mr. Grill, correct?
It is. And I do understand the fans' point of view. Rob was the one. He was saying, Mark, you need to take this job. We want you. We need you in this band. I want you to. He kept telling me, I want you to be the guy to take the grassroots music to the future. Those were his words exactly. You're the guy to do that. And I took that as an honor. That was a badge for me.
How did that make you feel? I mean, this guy is somebody that you had been listening to and just loved.
To me, he was one of the greatest pop singers I ever heard. So, and we, of course, became friends. But, I mean, if someone tells you that you respect that much, that this is your job, he told me, you deserve it, you're the one that needs to do it. How do I say no to that? And I really wasn't prepared at that time, but I wanted that. I wanted that. And so we began doing our shows in earnest as me, as the lead singer, even though Rob his health was, he was alive at that time, but his health was poor. He could not travel. And I encountered quite a few people who would just say things. I'll tell you, the Westbury Theater in New York. New Yorkers, not always known to be the nicest folks in the world, but I've met some wonderful New Yorkers. I'll never forget the first night I came out, and the Westbury Theater is a theater in the round. It's really different than others, and it's a wonderful place to play. I love it now, but it's taken a while.
At that point, you're like,
Walked out onto the stage, and you're surrounded by 3,000 people. They circle you.
That's
it was
cool.
Full house. I walked on the stage, and someone out of there yelled, "You suck!" And I didn't have to look. I know he was talking to me. I hadn't even sung a word yet. And then boos started before the show began.
Oh, no.
Well, we started playing, and I usually speak, before a song. I was saying whatever to set the song up. I didn't even want to talk. I was afraid they were just going to boo me. So I spoke very quickly. By the third song, the attitude had changed. The entire audience was loud. They were raucous. They were having a great time. 3 songs in. And I only played about 7 that night because you do a pretty short set because they bring bands in and out. But by the end of that set, we had some people up on their feet, and that was a great thing. After the show, I felt good. I felt like, oh, it went well. Started poorly. The first, went to an autograph table. A lady walks up with her album. She goes to our guitar player, and she goes to our drummer and our keyboard player, and they signed it. And I reached my pen, and she goes, I don't want your signature.
Oh, my goodness.
I just went, okay.
That's okay.
I smiled. And so that happened maybe another 15, 18 times for a couple of years. I don't hear that anymore. And I think when people have met me and they realize I'm having fun doing this, I love this music. I wouldn't change a note or even think about changing a note because I tell people these were near perfect pop songs. I'm proud to play them as they are.
Yeah.
And my job, I'm a vehicle to bring them to you. That's the way I look at it. So I think most people have finally gotten me now. I'm not out to take anyone's thunder. I love this job.
Right. I think, you're definitely living out Rob Grill's vision for, his music in the future, for sure.
Well, hopefully I'm doing him proud.
I hope everybody knows that now. So you can just cool it. We understand he loves Rob Grill. We all love him.
Rob and I were friends there. We were good friends there that way.
I mean, what an opportunity for you, though. I mean, that is just amazing to be, one day getting a phone call, going through the stress of learning all those songs in 3 days to this. Now you're here on a regular job with them and you're just loving life.
Right. I don't have to. It's been a big relief too because it sort of gave me a job to. I mean, I made money with music, but it gave me a job that maybe pays a little more.
Yeah.
And I like it, which is you don't hear that much. You get a job
Right.
that pays you okay, and you go, hey, this is all right.
This is great,
Everything about what I do is wonderful. The travel's not wonderful, but everything else is. I love the fans more than anything, and that's one of my favorite parts. I just love to meet the people and hear what they've got to say, and it's great. It's fun.
That's awesome. So when you talk about, real quickly here before we kind of get to the end of the podcast, when you think about some of the amazing people that you've met along the way, who kind of stands out to you in your mind beyond Mr. Grill? Because obviously you respect him dearly. So.
Well, in that same vein of what Rob being the singer of the Grassroots, I also was a big fan of people like Paul Revere and the Raiders, and Gary Lewis and the Playboys, Tommy James, the Guess Who, the Turtles, the Association. All these people I call my friends now, and to me, I can't. Here's a great story. Peter Noon from Herman's Hermits. Everybody loves Peter. He's one of the coolest guys in the world. Now, I've had the opportunity to play with Peter on several shows as well. I'm at I was playing a house concert somewhere and took a break, and I had my phone on the table and just much like yours, just facing up. And it lit up, and a friend of mine goes, he looks at it, he goes, tell me that's not real. Peter Noon is not calling you right now. I went, oh, yeah. And I mean, I didn't think, my friends were all blown away that Peter Noon called me. I was like, but we're friends. I don't even think about that now.
Right.
But that's what it's led to. I've met so many people that I just knew from the radio. Oh, that guy's voice or the way that guy plays guitar. Peter Rivera from Rare Earth has become a great friend. And I always thought that was just a badass rock and roll band with the drummer singing lead. And now, we're friends. It's just.
That's cool.
It really is a cool, and they're like you and me. They're not rock stars per se because they've got gold records on their wall. No, they're cool guys who play music and have a laugh or two, when you're not playing music.
That's what I love about it, especially like when you meet someone and you're like, hey, listen, I've listened to you for years. I'm a huge fan. As fans, we go and we fangirl, and, we have our moment where we're just like starstruck. But at the end of the day, when you are sitting there talking to them and you realize you're like, wow, they're so humble. That's
Absolutely.
really cool. That is a great feeling. And I think it makes you appreciate them because they're constantly being approached by people.
By people all the time, yes.
And it can be very, I mean, we've seen it in social media, we've seen it in the news where constantly people are, approached by paparazzi or by fans or what have you.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot.
There's a few. I work with Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees quite a bit.
Really?
Mickey's a guy they'll chase down. Wow. And I've actually, like going into hotels, I've had to run interference for Mickey a few times.
It's crazy,
it really
isn't it?
is.
I mean, it's, I feel bad. So, from my perspective, I've missed out on going up and saying hello to someone because I did not want to interrupt their privacy at that point. You know what I mean?
Most people I know, just so you know, most of the rock guys I know, they're cool if you say, "Hey, Mickey, how's it going?" They'll do a quick fist bumper. But it's when you go, the people that run up and want to put their hands and, "Oh, let me touch." That's where it gets a little like, okay, all right, please back off, because you don't know what people are going to do, and
right,
especially in today's climate, what fungus are you carrying? We don't know. So, but generally, when people are just, "Hey, great to see you. Hi, how are you?" They love that. Like, "Nice to see you too." And they mean it. It is nice to see you. It's the ones who want to get in.
A little kiss on the cheek, and you're just sitting there like,
throwing their arms. It happens to me too. And I understand it. People are a little excited.
Yeah, they do get excited. But, it's all out of love for what you do.
We hope so. That's the reason for it, yes.
All right. Well, I know that you have recorded your own music, and you are going to play a little something for us today.
I will.
I'm so excited about this, by the way, because when you sent me this morning, I was just sitting there, honestly, guys. This is such a feel-good, happy song. And when you said you would play, are you going to play part of it for us?
Yeah, I'll do a short version of that.
So when you said he was going to play it, I was just like, yes, because it's such a great feeling. I love it.
Well, when the quick story behind this, I had never played a ukulele in my life, okay? Mm-hmm. I saw a guy on TV, it was a big guy, and he was just playing the heck out of this thing, and I went, how do his fingers even fit on that? I didn't have it, so just on a whim, I went over to Amazon, and I ordered a ukulele. Mm-hmm. Came the next day, and I didn't even know how it was tuned. So I started messing around on it. And this is not a ukulele, obviously. But I started messing around just to figure out where the chords are. 20 minutes later, I had this song, and it kind of connected with a lot of my fans. Actually, it connects with nieces and nephews, little ones, things like that.
What's it called again?
The Ukulele Song.
The Ukulele Song. It's family friendly, folks. I hope you guys enjoy this little performance, and I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Happy to do it. I'll do a little short version. You got to get the intro,
Yeah. Oh, it's kicking. I love it.
Well, my baby, she got a ukulele. She plays it daily. She drives me crazy. But she can rock it. Ain't never gonna stop it. You lay down the beat, she will drop it. And everybody sings along. This is your part now. And they say do 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 do.
I'm not gonna remember.
Do 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 do. Oh, it looks so easy. Those nylon strings, how they tease me. Oh, it might sound crazy. She could rock the house, playing Purple Hazy. My baby got a ukulele. She plays it daily. She drives me crazy. Here's the short version. I wanna be a rock star with the ukulele. Make my hair all wavy and drive the ladies crazy. I'm gonna learn to play Midnight Confessions. That's my obsession. I better take a whole lot of lessons. Last time. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do do do.
I love it. I love it so much. How could you not feel good.
It's just a little, it's about fun. There's nothing more to that.
And when you said that to me, it was early in the morning when I had messaged you, I mean, around mid-morning or so, but I'd been up for a while, drinking some coffee. And then when I heard that song, I was like, this is going to be a great day. This is just going to be a great day. So that really sets the pace on a Monday morning, folks. If you ever need a get up and go type of song, my ukulele.
Ukulele song. We just call it ukulele, and everybody knows what that is.
Yes. And they can find it on Spotify, right?
It's on Spotify. Also on my website, if you ever want to check out. I got all my original tunes. A bunch of cover songs I do as well, just for fun.
Awesome.
It's markdawson.us if you ever want to check me out. But yeah, when I write songs, I don't really go. I have a few that are deep meaning, but I find that people just enjoy the songs that are happy or fun on the surface. They seem to enjoy that more. So I try to go for that positivity. Yeah. I'm generally a positive person.
I would say so. You've been the happiest person I've met. And thank you for singing. And I know it was kind of rough for you because you've been under the weather.
A little bit of a cold, but it's
you rocked it. You killed it. I love it. So one last little bit, and this is just a personal note. What would you say to people who are like, I'm never going to make it? Who really want to?
Well, I get asked that a lot. My number one bit of advice for anybody who's starting out, or even if you're not starting out, if you're just unsure of yourself, surround yourself with people who are older, better players, experienced players is probably the best word. I know everybody wants to play with their friends, but if you really want to get good and get noticed, find people who are better than you, and you will elevate. That was the case of me ever since I was a kid. It just worked out that way. But when I look back in retrospect, they were always better than me, always. And that worked to my advantage. I just taking those opportunities when I can.
I love that so much. It's such a positive vibe from you that we've gotten this entire time. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
My pleasure was mine. Thank you so much.
You are going to be on tour, correct?
Oh, we got to. Well, we're always on tour. It never ends. We've got a few Florida dates coming up.
Weirsdale, right?
We'll be
Weirsdale.
Weirsdale.
The Orange Blossom Opry, folks.
I won't say the Twilight Zone was created there, but there's an episode about Weirsdale.
No, I'm kidding. It's a cute little town.
It is cute. It is cute, yeah. It's throwback is what it is. It's really throwback. We're there on the 26th of February, I believe. And we'll be in Vero Beach on March 2nd. And somewhere else that I can't remember right now.
That's okay. We'll have it in our newsletter that goes out, Setting the Stage.
Perfect, because I'm glad you remembered, because you and my wife are the only people in this world who remember anything.
Well, we have to remember a little. Sometimes I'm telling you right now, I got all this forehead and I don't remember a thing, okay? Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Riff on This. Thanks for joining us, and stay locked in tight. I'll have another episode coming to you soon. Thanks for listening to Riff on This. A huge thank you to our special guest, the Grassroots' very own Mark Dawson. Be sure to follow him on Instagram at DawsonBase1, or look him up on Facebook by searching Mark Dawson. And don't forget, you can link me on my social media. Just search Samara Kokinas News 6 on Facebook and Twitter. On Instagram, search Samara Kokinas. Before we go, a huge thank you to our behind-the-scenes production team, Derek Mosier, Ryan Haley, Chris Flora, Joe Brennan, Rich Burns, and Bob Myers. Please take some time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget, sharing is caring, so tell a friend about us too. You can find videos of all the podcast episodes on clickorlando.com/riff on this. Until next time, friends.